Good job.
Founder of Love Your Period and women's health activist. Smashing. Right. Are we good to go?
Yes, my darling.
Cool. Let me go on my hair. Just want to do a little check, sorry. Okay, fine. All right. Cool. Is that on?
Yes, it's all on. Do you want to check that it's all on?
I can't see that it's on.
It's got, see that little dot, the red dot in the bottom of the corner?
Okay.
That means it's on.
Okie dokie.
And that's red, which means it's recording.
Cool. All right.
Trust
cool.
issues.
Ready? Right. Welcome back to another episode of Say How It Is. I nearly forgot how to introduce my podcast then. I was like, what are we called?
It is how we say.
Yeah. Well, we are joined by Molly Fenton, founder of Love Your Period and women's health activist. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Very welcome. We've been very excited to have you on. I'm just going to move this because I actually can't see Molly.
Oh, okay, sorry. Wait,
This happens all the time.
Okay, if I
You should be able to move that.
Oh, okay.
Go on.
Technical hitch, everyone. Sorry. Ooh.
Ooh. There we are. That's
There we
better.
go. We are in.
I was like, I can't speak to her. I can't see her.
Considering you're so tall as well.
Ooh, sorry. It's happened before. Right, are you good?
I'm good. Sorry, everyone. We are back in. Right.
Back in the room. Yes, we've been very excited to have you on for a number of reasons, and we actually had to stop ourselves chatting across the road when we were having coffee because we're like, this is great podcast content, so let's pause it. So start off, how are you? You've had a busy couple of weeks, months even. How's things?
Yes, all good, thank you. Very busy. Summer and women's health events, festivals, it's all kicking off. But it's amazing. So much conversation. And as we were saying, it's a very sociable time. So why not smash some of that stigma through those conversations?
Yeah, definitely. And we were lucky enough to come along to the Every Woman Festival a couple of weeks back, which you were heavily involved in. How was that?
Amazing. I was asked to be an ambassador for the festival this time around. I spoke last year in 2023 about periods and endometriosis, and then I was back this year in the Survive and Thrive session, but I was asked to be an ambassador, which was awesome because young women we don't associate, I think, a lot of the women's health topics. I know we talk more about periods now, but it's more kind of like menopause or childbirth and things like that. So it was really good to have that youth representation to go, actually young women do get sick and we do need to talk about our health, and even if we're not sick, we have to know about our bodies to know our normal. So it was just so much fun to be involved in the whole build up to the festival, and then on the day, and then I'm still in every woman mode, to be honest. I'm like,
Yeah,
when's the next one?
I keep seeing on your stories and stuff, you're like, it's been 4 weeks since the Every Woman Festival. Like, that means it's only 11 months to go till the next one.
We honestly, we had so much fun that day. There was some talks that we sat in that we really resonated with, and then some that really didn't. But it was so amazing just to sit there and listen to people's stories, whether it resonate with us or not. We learned so much, and we came away from it I was buzzing after it. I was like, that is such an epic day, epic. So many women going to one place with the same mindset that everyone's lovely, everyone's there for great intentions and wants to learn and want to be open. We got some content for the podcast around just asking women what they felt was taboo in women's health, or what was the other question we asked?
What would your advice be to someone?
To
Stay
survive.
tuned for that content.
Yes, sorry.
Whoops.
How to survive and thrive, and how honest people and open people are being. I don't know. We just felt really honoured that we were having those conversations with these people.
Yeah, and it's not something that usually comes straight away. If you're speaking to a couple of strangers on camera and we're like, yeah, this is going to go on Instagram, by the way, and they're like, yeah, no worries, and they're so open and vulnerable, and I think it was really nice to be in a place, like you said, with like-minded people, and you're going somewhere where you know that by stepping through the gates or by buying a ticket for that event, these are people who also want to be really open and vulnerable and talk about the tough things that we don't talk about, because they know the benefit it has not only for them but for other people.
I just think that it's such a class thing that's got so much potential to grow. We were speaking about afterwards, and I was like, I can imagine this festival being so huge in 5 years. I think the way society's changing is exactly what we need. We need spaces and like events like that, that's normalising things that we go through as women, and a space where we can feel comfortable with strangers sharing things that we struggle with alone. I just think it is an awesome event, and can't wait to see it grow over the next few years.
Shout out to every woman festival.
We just basically sold that. Honestly, we're not being paid to share that, I swear.
I'm happy as an ambassador. I'm also not paid as an ambassador, but I will, as long as they'll have me, I will do it. I agree. It's crazy crazy in a good way, how we share things when the space is right and when the space feels safe, we're able to. And every woman is, that education is key. But we also need to empower ourselves. And I think the word empower and empowerment has been overused in so many different phrases that we see it as a bad thing. It's a bit like when people go, oh, feminism, we don't like that word anymore because people use it too much. But actually, if we are feeling that we can talk about, not just when things go wrong, but when things are going right, but we feel that we can talk about them. We talk now about bowels and poo because of Dame Deborah James and Bowel Babe Fund and things like that. And we need to continue those conversations. And you're right, they are happening. And places like Every Woman, it changed my life the first time that I went. And I'm so glad to be involved and try and bring in more young people, but really all people, because like I said, it's for everyone. It's for every woman.
We met an older couple. I'm not sure how old they were. Maybe like,
I don't want to offend anyone.
I don't want to offend anyone either.
I reckon they were like 70s.
Late 70s. And we interviewed them, and one of the questions we asked was about like what they thought was taboo. And it was really interesting because I think we've shared on our podcast a clip of it where the lady was saying that she thinks how much it's changed. Like, she thinks that nothing really is taboo because of she comparing it to when she was younger. She said, like, nothing was spoken about in my house. Like, I couldn't speak about sex to my mother or anything.
At this point, her husband was like, huh?
Sex? He was like, what? It was so
brilliant.
funny. But it was really interesting because, like, we feel now, there's still certain things that are like a taboo, we don't talk about enough and are uncomfortable. But then you speak to someone that is a lot older than us, that come from a completely different generation, and they think what their perception is completely different. They think that this world we're living in now is free and open. So I think like that was a realization for us to think that things have changed so much. Like, yes, there's still a way to go, but I think going in the right direction. And after that conversation with that couple, it made us think it is positive, it is going in the right direction, but like it's changed so much since back then.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on a little bit, we want to talk a little bit through your story. So take us back to your school days, and sort of, we were chatting a little bit off air around like menstrual cycles and when we started our periods and stuff. So can you talk us through a little bit around that and what you would classify as your journey began?
So I started my period properly, like regularly. Well, who has a regular period? But
what does that even mean?
Good point. Regularly at 8 years old. It was...
Hang on a minute. 8 years old?
Yeah.
I didn't think I even know what a period was at 8 years old.
No, I didn't.
Well, neither did I.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have so many questions already, and you've only just you've said one sentence. Were you in school when you?
So I was in school. I'd gone to the toilet, and then I'd gone back to my classroom crying because I was bleeding. And then it was my mum was called to pick me up from reception, but no one had told me what was going on. And it's only since actually doing the menstrual advocacy work that I've kind of fully remembered that. Like, I knew I started when I was 8, and I knew I was upset about it, but now it's like the whole memory is back. And it was terrifying. But then again, you'd never think to teach someone that young about periods, if you were taught at all, if you were lucky enough to be taught. I did not have any period education in primary school. Maybe I was ill on the day it happened, on the 10-minute chat where the girls separated in one room. Potentially I was off, but I did not have it. But I had a really, really difficult puberty. I remember as well kind of like forcing my mum to shave my arms, because when we were getting ready for PE, we were kind of like at that age where everyone could get ready in the same room, and that was normal. That wouldn't happen today. Or the boys would kind of like go out in the corridor and the girls could stay in the classroom, but there were all windows between us anyway. And I was teased so badly for body hair, and no one else had it, and I didn't understand why I had it. And I was trying to make my mum shave, and I remember the last time she did it and she was like, we are not doing this again, was when obviously my skin was so young that it was just, no matter how much shaving cream or conditioner or moisturizer, it was agonizing. It was so painful, and I still have problems with my skin now under my arms that I'm pretty sure were probably because I was shaving from 8, 9 years old. really, really difficult puberty. I was growing really, really fast. I was having a lot of injections. I didn't know why. But I was just told, they were good for me and I needed them. And that was fine. And they were going to slow things down a bit. But it was so difficult. And I got bullied so badly because of that puberty. I then went to secondary school and not everything was normal, but it was my normal. Things felt normal. And it was only when I was 16 years old, the day of my GCSE maths exam, I was told I had a brain tumour.
God.
So my parents knew beforehand. I didn't cotton on. I thought every kid had an MRI scan and stuff like that, So with kind of like best intentions to protect me, I wasn't aware of it. And then I found out I had this brain tumour. My whole life was kind of like swept from underneath me. Mainly not inflicted. I don't want to blame myself. I feel bad doing that. But it was kind of like, oh my gosh, my life's over. Because I didn't know what those two words meant, but I know that they were scary. I didn't understand, or actually I started to understand where things had started piecing together. So I just become really, really unwell. I was diagnosed with multiple chronic illnesses and just was home all the time. I developed really bad kind of like, I was trying to control everything in my life so badly because of this diagnosis. So I only tell this story recently, but I woke up the next morning and I didn't know which side to get out of bed of because I thought if I got out the wrong side, my brain tumour would kill me that day. So that was kind of like education gone. I had my one GCSE and it was the GCSE maths that I'd sat on that day.
Oh, you did sit your GCSE?
I did. So I got the one GCSE that year. I went in and did it. I think I was in so much shock that it actually didn't affect me until later on. Developed a fear of sleeping, which I'm still getting over now, and scared that I wasn't going to wake up. And everything just changed. Then because of other illnesses, I'd lost my period, which then affected my bone health. And it made me realise actually how linked our hormones and menstrual cycles and everything. I talk about a way where we're not held hostage by our hormones. That's the way that I phrase it. But actually, I feel like I am because of the tumour, because of the illnesses, because of trying to control and spending so much time looking after my bone health and periods and this and that, which I'm hoping to create a world now where actually we aren't held hostage by our hormones, but we are aware of them and we do understand them. That is key. So how the Love Your Period campaign comes into that is I'd left school, or I was put into my school's behaviour unit, which I was given a 1-to-1, and they were really trying to do all they could to keep me in school. And all of my A-star grades and everything.
I was going to ask this question about what your school life was like, but pre your diagnosis, were you really invested in school? Did you enjoy school? How were your grades? Obviously, to then change when you said you only got one GCSE, what was life like pre-diagnosis for you in school?
School was the best place on earth. I loved it. I was the annoying teacher's pet type. And
literally same.
It's
don't worry about it. Yeah. I was like, Miss, we had homework. Do you not remember that you set us homework? Literally, in history, I remember my third history lesson. She was like, okay, you can all leave, blah, blah. I was like, no, Miss, we had homework. I'm really proud of this homework that I did. And everyone's like, honestly, I know. And in hindsight, I'm like, oh my God, why did I do that to myself? But yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it was everything. So I think it was such a drastic change because my school were like, what's happened to this girl?
Okay.
So they were like, how do they adapt? So things may not have gone right, but actually it's a whole learning curve. And I know we're going to go on to talk about kind of mindset shifts and everything. But my big thing is in this whole thing, I do not put blame on anyone. I can't put blame on a GP for not sending me somewhere earlier or this or that, because it's all learning, because we don't know enough. We don't know enough about women's bodies.
So obviously, I have so many questions, but you started your period at 8 years old, and how did you cope with them? Were they severe? Were they bad? What then made your parents then get, like you said, you went for an MRI scan, were they linked to make you think, okay, something not right somewhere else? What was the symptoms and signs that made your parents get checked for what then ended up finding out that you had a brain tumour?
So from my understanding, because obviously I don't remember a lot of it, it was like it from when I was born. I developed teeth early. Everything was very early. My whole body clock was just forward. So I had multiple kind of tests from that point to which I do not remember
Yeah.
to the time I got diagnosed. From my understanding, an MRI was one of the last things.
So this was pre-period. You were getting checks even before you started your period.
Because I had so many hormonal-based symptoms, which are always difficult, aren't they? Because we say things like, "Oh, it's not normal for your age," but these things can happen differently. It's a unique process. So my parents must have kind of like had that sense that something was wrong, and kept pushing to find out what that could have been. And yeah, I guess I'm a lucky person for where it's positioned and how I am today, because brain tumours are, an almost unsurvivable thing. And we hear the word benign as well. My tumour's low grade. But there's a massive campaigning at the moment because people do get killed by benign brain tumours. And first of all, we don't know enough about them. There isn't a lot of research into them. And to think, we think brain tumours, vision loss, headaches, these are the seizures, these are the fatigue, typical ones that we hear. But mine was periods, hormones, hair.
Yeah.
And it's just...
That's really interesting.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy how we do it.
So when you got diagnosed with your brain tumour, did you find out then that it was benign, or did you not find out until a later stage that it was benign? Like, were they, at the time you found out, you were like, you don't know what kind of stage it was at when you found it?
So I was 16. They said, it was told to me, it was described as a ticking time bomb.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's a lovely way to describe it to a 16-year-old, isn't it?
And it was in the front room of my house, which is now my mum's bedroom. So when I'm too scared to sleep, I feel like I can't go in my mum's room because that's where I was told. So that I'm trying to get over that one. And no one had told me anything. I was just told the word brain tumour. And then, of course, Google.
Yeah.
So I petrified myself for no reason whatsoever. And it was kind of like I had to come forward and ask the questions. But it took a while for me to come forward to ask the questions. And then there were a few things in that time, like I was accidentally sent something from a cancer charity to ask about my care or like plans for what I'd do if I got to end of life. And they didn't mean to send it to me, but it was the most petrifying thing. Like I'd opened that post and I'd just had an MRI scan and my mum was there, and I don't think I'll ever feel any panic like I did that. They didn't mean to send it to me. I'd contacted them and it was a complete accident, and they were very nice about it, and it's all fine. But you don't realise how much those little things stick with you. But then it's kind of like changing it. For so long, it did control my life for like a good 4 or 5 years. There was technically no point in me even getting to live. There was no point because I was not living life. And things were really, really hard. But then it was shifting that to go, right, I've had this experience. What can I do with it to actually not make it worthwhile? That sounds a bit weird. But what can I make of it to not only make it feel better for me, but also maybe try and help the experience of someone else or multiple other people? Because unfortunately, this will happen to a lot of other people.
When you look back now across those couple of years post-diagnosis, a couple of things. What kind of symptoms did you experience post-diagnosis? Was it like is it something that's like evolved in different ways? And what is the process of like going back and forth in terms of getting checkups? I can imagine that's really quite scary, because I think if someone tells you you've got a benign tumour, but I assume it's something that needs to continue to be checked on, is that a scary experience? Because I can imagine it would be not nice having to almost constantly be reminded of this thing that you've got.
Yes, commonly I hear this scan anxiety, but I get it for everything. So my local Specsavers, I'm phoning them almost every week. I'm like, right, there's something floating in my eye or something hurts, and they're amazing. They're incredible. They have me in there and then if I can get there. And, they're very thorough and very, very helpful, especially at a time where kind of like trying to get through waiting lists and see who you need to see and contact who you need to see can be really, really hard. So I'm really, really lucky to have that resource. But yeah, that anxiety, that health anxiety in general does control my life. My periods never came back. So period activism is actually quite funny now that I don't have a period. It feels really weird. It doesn't feel like I should be doing it, but we've carried on. And kind of like I get really bad hot flushes and brain fog and memory loss and all these things. And it's like, what is causing it? And I think that's the problem. Is it hormones from the, are we talking about a menopause thing? I need to look at that. Are we talking brain tumor? What is causing it and what is affected? And it's one of those things where we don't look into it too much because it's not going to kill me, but it's like quality of life wise.
Yeah.
We need to look at it. It's really, really tough because if I've got a really bad migraine, that's me out for like 2-3 days. If I'm having a hot flush, like they freak me out. They freak me out. The menopause activists and the work that they do. And I even think of my mum and I'm like, the fact that you've kept on going through this, because I'm like full on spread on the kitchen floor tiles, trying to get cool. Or I've got ice bags down me. I do that so much because it's coping with it.
Yeah.
And so those hormonal, again, it goes back to that phrase, held hostage by your hormones. But the whole anxiety, it's like, oh, I stubbed my toe. Wait, it hurts more than it probably should have for that. Have I broken something or are my bones brittle because my hormones gone wrong? Has the brain tumour done this?
It all spirals, doesn't it?
It's bad. It's really unhealthy as well. And it's something I hold my hands up and say I have to work on massively. But it's how do you work on it? There's like, you can get some leaflets. There's some pamphlets.
You can read a little bit.
Yeah. But my eyes aren't good enough to read the small print. So it's like, where does the line? It's tough. It's a tough one.
So what shifted your mindset? Because you said like post-diagnosis, you struggled for a few years around like, you mentioned there that you said that your life wasn't worth living. But what, like, not clicked for you, but what then made you think, okay, no, I need to change the way I'm looking at life? And like you said, then your mindset now is about trying to help somebody else. Like, what was the switch in you to change that mindset? And like, also, how did you do it?
So there were a few things, but I love how you changed the word. You said click, but it literally was a click.
Yeah.
It was literally a snap and everything changed. And it was really tough. So try to look back and think of this because I get asked this question a lot. And I started Love Your Period when I was 16. So I was out of school and I'd began it because my periods had been such a nightmare. I was put on the contraceptive pill at 12.
Oh, weren't we all flipping it?
12.
Yeah, I think
That
I
could be
was
a
on.
whole podcast
I
in
think
itself.
I think I was 12 or 13 when I was on as well. I went on the pill, purely because my periods
because
were
your periods
heavy.
are bad.
Heavy, yeah.
And we now know that's endo.
Well,
so
we do, yes, we do.
That's mind-boggling.
It's
Anyway.
tough. And you think, how could that, potentially have affected
Yeah.
you, which I try not to think about.
Yeah.
That's a hole in itself, isn't it?
I might become a researcher and research that one. But
Let us know what you find.
heard it here first. So I'd started Love Your Period as kind of like, it was just a project. It was a fun project. I'd been into public speaking in school, and I'd spoken about periods, and we'd had a bad reaction to speaking about periods. But we always like to pick like those topics. We were the only all-female team in the district, so we'd like to pick those topics, like abortion, pro-choice. Like, come on, we're going to push the boat a bit. But apparently, periods was the no-go. Like, you weren't to do that. So I was really angry about it, and I thought, I got this time on my hands, and I feel like I can't really leave the house, but I feel like maybe I could do something online. So I wasn't allowed social media until I was 16. So the fact that I started a social media campaign when I was 16, I think came to quite a shock to my parents and started a page just called Love Your Period. My local Rotary Club donated a load of period products that I could take into school, raised loads of money and then bought all the products. This was just before the Welsh Government put in the period dignity scheme. So products weren't available technically anywhere.
And you done this at 16 years old?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the Instagram page blew up. Like, I say blew up. It was like 1,500 followers in a few weeks. But to me...
That is a lot.
Yeah,
Look, it took us months
Hey,
to
we're
get...
not even at that stage
No, I
yet.
know. It took us months to get 1,000. We're like, get in.
I remember we had 100 followers. Like, yeah, I got 100 followers.
Yeah, but that's it.
That is a lot.
If you
It
put
is.
100
At
people in a
16
room...
years old.
Yeah, that's epic.
And this
Yeah.
is like 8 years ago?
Yes.
So
I was
that's
gonna
like...
say, hang
do you know
on,
what I mean?
wait,
Oh,
wait.
God,
No,
good maths.
8 years ago. No.
How old are you now?
6 years ago. 22.
22.
Bad
There we
maths.
are.
Bad maths. I actually thought, sorry, for a minute there, I actually thought that 22 minus 16 was 8, but it's not.
Don't worry, so did I. I said yes. Don't ask the girl with the brain tumor. Not a good idea. So Love Your Period... it blew up and everyone was sharing it. Like, even all the boys in the school that I went to.
Yes,
They were
love
all
that.
putting up this post saying, follow, look at this. And the Welsh Government picked up straight away and was like, come on this round table, do this work with us. I was like, okay. Having no idea who they were. Like a Jane Hutt office contact me, not knowing that she was like a big minister in Welsh Government. I was like, hey,
See you there, babe.
what's going on? Probably should have answered that a bit better. And then the Welsh Government eventually put in the free period dignity scheme, so all the products were in schools, and I'm still on that roundtable today, and I'm on the one with the Department of Education. So I was having this almost insight as a pupil representative or a young person representative, and then everyone was talking to the campaign for me to then take into these roundtables to make sure that we had some sort of representation, even if it was just one person. And I definitely wasn't the most qualified person in the room who had some time on her hands to do it. So that work kind of like, my sister mainly kept it going. My face was on it, but wanting to keep it going, she was great. She was 12 years old at the time. She'd become my full-time carer.
She was 12. Oh my gosh.
She was running this page so that when she was like, Molly is going to get better and she is going to be able to do this stuff. And when she is, Love Your Period is going to be amazing for her.
Aww.
So by the
amazing.
time, I know, by the time I fully came back, it was international. I was like, okay,
Right.
We've gone global.
This 12-year-old's got her stuff together.
Yeah. And she's, how old is she now? She's 17 now. She wants nothing to do with Love Your Period. And I don't blame her. She's probably
She's done
traumatized.
Like, look, I've set this up. I've kept it going. Just take it over, please.
Yeah. So that was a massive thing because it was like, there were so many amazing communities. And I realised that eventually I was going to events. I've been asked to go and speak at places in London, across the UK, internationally. I do it on Zoom. And I was like, there are so many amazing places. And I'm going there and I'm putting on this smile. And it was almost toxic positivity as well. Like it was really, really bad. And I realised that I actually wanted to enjoy these events. So that helped a lot. But the big thing for me was I joined Twitter, or I'd had Twitter for a long time, or X now. Yeah, sorry, get it right. And I'd started following people in the brain tumour community and reaching out to some of them. And I was like, look, I've had this and I've never spoken about it. We don't talk about it at home. I have so many questions and I don't know who I can ask and I don't know who I can trust. So I got in touch with one family in particular, and Laura Nuttall is a young woman who died of glioblastoma, so a stage 4 brain tumour, in 2023. And I reached out to her family and she was doing amazingly, like all over the news, everywhere. Like this woman was becoming known internationally. And I reached out and her mum put me in touch with the brain tumour charity, who I didn't even know existed. I'm an ambassador for today, the first and only one in Wales.
Wow.
Finally, we're going to talk about NHS Wales and we're going to try and help people, which should be excellent. And I was then started getting support through that. And I was watching Laura's story and having so much support kind of from her family in a way that I don't even think they realise how much it impacted me and my mum and my sister and my family dynamic in general. I still talk to her little sister, Gracie. I say we're the same age. I talk to her sister, Gracie, almost every single day. And she made me friendship bracelets wear all the time. And they had such an impact on our lives. And then when Laura died, it was just, I'd never felt a loss like that before. I'd lost my grandparents, I've lost siblings, but that was next level. And it was kind of like, my mum was like, look, I understand why you're upset, but we're 10 days down the line, you're not standing up out of bed. And I was like, give me a minute, give me a minute. And I'd made another friend through another channel who wasn't very open about her tumour or anything, but she'd then died at a similar time and her tumour was benign. And then I went, you know what, actually, because I felt so encouraged and pushed by, of course, Laura, I say her name and tell her story because it was everywhere. And then some people did it on a smaller level in their fundraising or little things. But the impact that they kind of had was a next level. And then I have friends now that have brain tumours and are stable and are in a similar position to me, or are essentially end of life, but are living the best lives. So it was after that. So I always say that actually I only really started living my life in May 2023. Well, June, if you count the 10 days that I didn't really get out of the road, But I was think Laura would actually think I'm pathetic right now if I didn't get out of bed. I just know she would. So that was the click for me. And I do feel guilty doing that. Someone had to lose their life for me to start living. That sounds pathetic. And when you put it in black and white, it is kind of that self-accountability of going, what are you doing? I am so lucky. And not only am I lucky, but I do feel like I have a bit of a duty to use it. Not just because I'm getting to live and talk and use my hands and things with people with brain tumours we assume they can't do. But also, there's such a lack of conversation in Wales. The charity hadn't done a lot of work in Wales. Anything going to the Welsh Government was very much like, oh, that's a Westminster problem, which I get, there's funding things, but health is devolved and we have to take a tiny bit of accountability. I thought, I do have a duty to do something with this, and I felt guilty that I wasn't. So part of it was a bit selfish, but the other part was kind of like, why aren't I? Like, get off your backside and do something with it. And because I started doing that, my whole mindset was kind of like, right, we are no longer blaming anyone. It's not anyone's fault. This is the way the world works. We don't know enough. I can change that, or I can try change that. I can't change it globally, but we can do something and look at what's already going on and put the power into that. We've already got Love Your Period as a platform. Let's try and open that out, and let's talk about periods and menstrual cycles, the whole cycle that we live in, and knowing, yes, everything's unique, but how can we make sure we know what's normal and keep talking about those things? Because facilitating a conversation, no, I can't become the top doctor or, do all these TED Talks across the world. Or
oh, you will one day, guarantee. Yeah. I can actually imagine coming to watch your TED Talk.
I'm not going to be able to, well, I've said I'm going to do research now. I don't know how I'm going to get qualified for that.
It's on record.
I know. I can try and put these things together. The one thing that I can do, and anyone's qualified to do, is start a conversation.
Yeah.
And, I know that you've mentioned before the amount of people that reach out from the podcast and say, you've changed my life saying this. And the amount of times I started hearing that, and I was like, what do you mean? I literally just told you about my bowel incontinence. Like, it's not hot. Like, I don't get it.
But I really like that you said that, because one of my questions to you was going to be, do you feel like you really struggled with the grief of losing Laura because you connected with someone that actually understood what you were going through? So up until that you kind of knew her, you didn't really have people that actually understood what you were going through, understood what you were feeling. So do you feel like that connection you'd made was because you kind of lost someone that really understood you and you understood them? Because yes, things like when people message us on the podcast and say that, like you said, that you've changed my life and that episode has really touched me, and you don't realize it at the time, but I think it's the difference is that if you feel misunderstood or you feel alone and then you listen to somebody else that's literally saying exactly how you feel, it hits you in a place you never would have realized that you could before, because you're like, wow, I'm not as alone as I thought, and wow, actually there's somebody else that feels like I do. And it's kind of like a therapy in a sense to feel like, wow, it's not just me, and I feel like my feelings are heard,
That's a very, very strong perspective, and I hadn't actually thought of it like that before. In the grand scheme of things, I barely knew Laura. So the fact that she had such an impact on my life, I think says exactly what you've just said. It kind of been, my parents hadn't said, we don't talk about it, but it was kind of, we don't talk about
Elephant in the room vibes.
Yeah. And we don't tell anyone else on the outside. So even now, I talk to my aunt a lot that I didn't talk to before my illness, because it was kind of like, I want to reconnect with all my family because life is too short. So I talk to her every single day. And sometimes I'll bring things up about brain tumours and kind of she obviously knew. She knew the whole time because her brother's first child has got a brain tumour, but we'd never spoken about it. And now it's kind of starting to become not typical conversation. I don't talk about brain tumours all the time, but if I'm doing something with campaigning, or I'm telling my story, or I'm doing this or I'm doing that, we can have a normal conversation, whereas stuff like that didn't happen before. So the fact that I think that it was the whole Nuttall family had kind of because I wouldn't have got in touch with the brain tumour charity and had that support because I didn't know they existed. I didn't know anything about them. I'd only just come online, so that probably didn't help. But their resources and things aren't in Wales. So I'm hoping to change that. We're trying to get Welsh translations, make sure that we get those signs and symptoms cards everywhere. And they'd enabled so many things for me to be able to live in a time where actually they were it was either Laura losing her life or that whole family was losing an integral part of their family, had managed to gift that forward. And I know that they did that for millions of people across the world. And Nicola Nuttall, her mum, continues now to do so much, even though Laura has passed. And we got to go and meet the family properly in Manchester a few weeks ago for Nicola Nuttall's book launch, which is what her daughter taught her about life, love and loss.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing.
I haven't finished the book. It's going to take me a while. It's going to take me a long time. But the whole perspective and everything they do, and it does almost, and they don't mean it, and it's harsh saying it, but I sat there with Tilly and I was like bawling my eyes out because they would talk about the love between sisters, and Tilly's my little sister, and I was like, I love you so much. She's like, get off me, I hate you. And she's like, now you treat me nice, and now you know what I had to go through for you.
Yeah, because you said, sorry, but you did mention earlier that she was your full-time carer at 12, right? Wow.
Yeah, so I trusted Tilly more than anyone. She became, I think for so long as well, like it was just things like the headaches or the like my skin, like I've mentioned. I'm going to do more work with that because I'm convinced that shaving from so young has ruined it. And I've had so many issues with my skin since. And of course the hormones, and then we talk about the sweats and the night sweats and this and that. So forgot why I was going with that, and I'm just talking about
we were
sweating.
talking about sister. We were saying that your sister was your full-time carer, and like you were saying that like you really trusted her.
Yeah, so she'd be doing things like coming in the shower with me and literally washing me down, and going to the toilet with me. And I think you're so vulnerable in those moments. And she was the only person I really trusted. I didn't even want my mum to do it. I don't know why. I don't really know why at all. And there was nothing against her. But Tilly was the one person that I would trust. So she was missing a lot of school. She was coming to the hospital appointments with me. She was running away with me when I actually ran away from the waiting rooms. And my mum was chasing after, like shout, like, come back. But Tilly's running with me, like, we are gone.
I'm with you in this.
I'm so bad for running away. It's really bad. And just everything, the whole time, every single emotion, feeling, absolutely everything. She believed me, and she didn't need to say I believe you, but it was in the way that she acted, in the way that she was. She never treated me like I was anything but her sister Molly. I wasn't Molly the ill sibling, Molly the disabled one, Molly with a brain tumour, Molly with this or that. It was still me, and I will always hold that, because even now when people go, oh, look at these amazing things you've done, or these awards you have, or you've got this, you've got that. And I'm like, well, you weren't treating me like a very good human a few years back. And I will remember that.
Nice.
Don't remember a lot, but I'll remember.
Yes. Nice.
It's really interesting hearing about not only your own journey from such a young age, but also your sister. Do you feel like as a pair that has matured you so much quicker? Because when we sit here and speak to you, I feel like you're so much older than 22.
Agreed. Sorry to interrupt you, but agreed. When you said you're 22, I was like, what? Like, you literally are so mature. It's crazy.
And it does come back down to the perspective that these things gives you, because a lot of the time going through things that are hard doesn't necessarily happen, especially that hard, doesn't happen until later on in life. And things like experiencing loss and grief, a lot of people are fortunate enough that we don't experience that until a little bit later on in our life in a way that really impacts us. But going through that with both of you, obviously on different sides of the coin, but do you feel like that has almost given you that maturity and that different outlook?
I think definitely, yeah. I'd say if she was here right now, we'd say like, that's what she said like every 2 minutes. So I'm trying to think, it's kind of like, there's a line, because there's two types of maturity, isn't there? I think, yeah, definitely the two of us have a completely new perspective. We do a lot of work together. So a lot of Love Your Period stuff. We go together all over the UK and do our talks together, and everyone says the same. And I think we were literally jumping on the bed at the hotel 5 minutes ago. Okay. And then there's that thing of kind of like, oh my gosh, life is too short. So we are going to go spend too much money on iced coffees. Yeah. Until he's like, well, I do need to walk to McDonald's today, because if I die tonight, then I'm going to regret it. I'm like, well, you'd be dead, but okay. And like, whatever.
Oh my God.
We do. So that girl, but we do milk it with the father. We try that one. And
sorry, I need new shoes. Like, what if anything happened, like, and I didn't have that new pair of shoes?
Literally,
both of us need the pairs. There's two of us here.
What's really nice there is that, like, there is still a sense of naivety, which is nice, because I think like going through what you've gone through, it can be easy to lose all naivety, but naivety is something I think that we need to hold on to for as long as possible, because otherwise, like you said, the anxiety and everything overthinking can just completely take over your life. But naivety is what makes it like, it'll be all right. Yeah. What if, it'll happen.
But also, like you said, you struggled for so long those first few years after your diagnosis that you're like, you're too scared, that health anxiety, but you didn't want to leave and you didn't live. And now it's like, well, do you know what? This is a position I'm in, and I can flip that. I can do something really positive with it. Even though, what I'm going through, it could be perceived as negative. What can I get out of it that could be positive, or how can I help somebody else? Like, we've spoken about it quite a lot over the last 2 seasons on this podcast in different scenarios, but what it comes back down to is we speak about controlling what you can control. Like, in your instance, Kay, you may not be able to control, the brain tumour and stuff, and you can control how you're coping with it, and you can control, like you said, how you can help somebody else, or how you can actually live your own life. Like, the perspective shift in any aspect of life when you go through something tough is huge. Like we've spoken about a lot, like our injuries, for example, of our recent scenario of like, you can be in self-pity and dwell on what you're going through, and that is, as a human being, you've got feelings that it's okay to feel sad and struggle with something tough, but then it gets to a stage where if you've let that take over your life for so long, you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring or the next week's going to bring, so you haven't got time to waste and lose, and that time could be spent enjoying a new experience or seeing a friend that you haven't seen for a while. And I think it is tough to shift that mindset, but once you do it, you're like, wow, this is the better way to live and make the most of the time I've got, or make the most of the experiences I want to live,
And I think a massive thing for me was kind of like, well, actually, anyone could be hit by a bus tomorrow, like the healthiest person. Like it's one of those things. And also recognizing the privilege and sitting down and going, actually, I'm really lucky. Like I've mentioned multiple times already, I'm talking, I'm using my hands, I'm doing all these things. I'm living a really good quality of life, health-wise, considering. But then looking kind of like, how much am I inflicting on myself that is decreasing that quality of life? So that level of self-accountability of, I'm so lucky. So not only what am I going to do with it, but exactly that thing of how am I going to use this time?
Yeah.
So even now, I feel like I always go, oh yeah, well, no, there's no such thing as out the other side. There's no such thing. But now I'm like, right, okay, well, I have more time to live and live my life. How am I going to do it? And for so long, I've been very much like, right, I've got to apply to unis, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And I'm like, whoa.
Achievement-based
chill.
driven,
Yeah. Like, chill and have a good day.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Instead of spending all of today planning for something for next year, when anything could happen to any of us, like, what are you going to do today that maybe fulfills that kind of like, oh, I have to achieve something.
Yes.
But also means that I have a really good day, because for so many years, it quite literally, like, it's the harshest thing to say, but I always have to remind myself, may as well have killed me there and then at that time, because the next 5 years after that, and I try not to blame myself for it, but I think, I was young. I was very young.
And you've been through so much. And also, like I said, like, you're a human being with feelings. You didn't get taught at school how to cope with this. So like, there wasn't like a book that said, this is how step by step you should deal with these experiences and emotions. Do you know what I mean? A psychologist that we use with our rugby tells me all the time, you're so achievement driven. Like, okay, what's your plans now for the week? Tell me what your plans are. You're going to do away from rugby. And I'm like, this. He's like,
podcast,
nope, nope. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he's like, nope. And I was like, what do you mean no? And he's like, they're all achievement. What are you doing for satisfaction? Or in his terms, what are you doing for shits and kicks, or shits and kicks, or whatever he calls it? Gigs. And I'm like, this and this. And he's like, nope, achievement. Like, everything you're doing is achievement based. And I'm like, well, but I feel good. No, you're getting it mixed up wrong. Like, the satisfaction you're getting out of the achievement is not the same thing. Because like,
I was doing something just for the sake of doing it.
Yes, and actually, but I'm like, I enjoy it. No, walk on the beach where your brain is off. You can switch off. Like, you don't have to think about walking on the beach. But your podcast episode, you're on, and I'm like, he's like, you're getting mixed up with what you're getting out of it. But do things that are actually time for your soul to just relax and breathe and not think. He said everything you're naming to me requires brain power, requires energy.
The really interesting for me is the thing about control, because in a sense, like, control can just be perceived in different ways. So in a sense, you are controlling the narrative now, like, but in a positive way. And I can imagine that, like, again, I'm going to use injury as my example because that's the only sort of vehicle I have to think of it through. But as soon as you lose control in one aspect, you want to control absolutely everything else. And from what it sounds like, that is what essentially the next couple of years post-diagnosis became for you, because it's like, right, well, this thing is out of control. So if I control everything, then hopefully that, you know, like you said about the getting out of the bed, you know, that's like almost a sense of control. It's like, if I'm out of control, then everything could go catastrophically wrong. I don't even know if that's a word, catastrophically. But anyway.
In my vocabulary, so you
but
can
it's
have
so
that.
interesting because the control can literally just be controlling your mindset around things. And everything could be, it could feel completely out of your control, but you're always in control of how you perceive it. But it's very much easier said than done, because when you're in that negative space and you feel like everything's out of control, it's easy to just be like, well, I'm going to have to restrict this and control that. But ultimately, if you just take a step back and control how you perceive things and control the actions that you take towards different things, then it's just really interesting to me. And also the things that you've said, and obviously knowing you, everything comes back to control and having that control over different things. So it's just interesting.
But, oh, no, wait, I forgot what I was
I
gonna
knew
say.
that was going to happen.
Fuck.
Right, less language now.
Wait. No, I have a really good point. Oh, no!
It can't be that good.
No, it was.
We can come
Oh,
back
got
to
it.
Good.
Wait, it
Got
might
it.
go again.
Got it.
So go on.
So, like, on that point, we've spoken again in a few different episodes about, like, other people's perception of, like, trauma or like, their own experience. Like, someone could have twisted their ankle and think the world's ended, but, like, you know, you're sat here with, like, benign brain tumour, like, things that you've experienced with a completely different outlook on life. And I just think what's been hard to kind of learn to understand is that people's perception of something difficult and trauma is so individual. Like Gwen, you said there that your comparison is not similar, but the only thing you can, like, thing your feelings
resonate with,
is
but it's
your
like obviously
injury.
so different.
But then the feelings can be similar. It's just the actual difference in the scale of
all
trauma.
comes down to the experience
Yes,
of one person, doesn't it?
It does, and I think that, like, you can get lost and be like, oh well, why are you losing thing over twisting your ankle? I'm sat here with X, Y, and Z wrong with me. But it's like that could be that person's first experience of something difficult and tough. And I think, like, it is all about perspective and stuff. But it comes down to, like you said earlier, about how usually you'd go through grief or something traumatic a little bit later in life, but you experience it so early. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I just think it was a really good point to mention about, like, how everybody else can go through something so different but experience similar feelings. But, like, obviously the scale of what you're going through is worlds apart. But it's like remembering that person may not be able to cope with that smaller scale, and your scale so much bigger. Sorry, that was going. But you get my point.
No,
hopefully,
it is key because I think that goes down to directly into comparison.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of it at the moment, and I want to document it more. I just don't know how to. I will hold my hands up, and I do now, and I go, I actually don't do much to breathe. I'm like, what do you do in your spare time? That's love your period time, because that's voluntary. Everything else, I've got to sort everything else. So that is my chill time. Or, like, at night time, I will sit and make social media posts, and that's my wind down.
Yeah.
And my mum's like,
we're the same.
"That's
I've got to
not
say
wind
that we're
down."
exactly the same.
And
I was
that whole
psyched Dave would
thing.
say that's achievement based. That's what he'd say.
It is, yeah. So there's that side. And I think the whole comparison. So these are two big things I'm trying to change. And again, into control. So I think we share parts of stories, and then it's easy to judge that person and then compare, because we will never know the whole story. Believe it or not, I actually share very little about my health. Like, the words brain tumour holds so much gravity. But I have control over that. So no one will ever know kind of like the full story and how things happen and then this and that, because I do have the control over that. And it was about learning and controlling that. And then it's easy for someone else to go, oh, well, I feel really bad because of this and that. And I'm like, well, you don't. First of all, it just teaches you, one, you never know the full story. But 2, why are we all comparing each other? And I think we do the same in achievements. And I do have to say, as a women's health activist, we are so bad in this space. And I heard the words and I hate them, but it's so true. It's internalized misogyny, this whole thing of either I have to be the best and I have to achieve that top thing, or my story is not as bad as this person. And I do think we have a problem, because if you're telling your story, and I get a lot of backlash for saying this, but again, new mindset, brain tumor, anything could happen. I'm just going to say how I feel. Say
it how it is.
It's a safe space, babes.
Yeah, say how it is. Yeah. Oh, this is the perfect place to say it then. We have so I could sit here, and this is why I didn't do it at the start. I could sit here and say, oh, this is exactly what happened, and then this and this and this and this, and life feels awful, and I'm traumatized and this and that. Or I could go, well, I'm going to tell this part that I have control of, but I'm telling it because there is a lesson in it and there's something I can do with it. We have a lot of, I think, issues in this space where there are people that will tell their story, but nothing will come of it, and then everyone else around them either feels invalidated because they need it as a bit of a trauma dump. But I feel that the activism space is becoming a bit too much like it. I'm going to get so much backlash for this.
That's actually really interesting.
And then everyone feels invalidated and they feel like they're not as bad. And I hear it a lot with endometriosis. I hear this all the time. The kind of, I've just sat and listened to this 45-minute talk about this person's story, which is great, but I actually didn't come away with any tools or help. And now actually I feel like maybe I don't have endometriosis, so I don't deserve to be...
Yeah, like my experience isn't as bad as that person. Does that invalidate me?
Well, sorry to jump in on that. That is actually really true, because I say it all the time. If I talk about my endo, I always say, oh, but I didn't have experience this, like my periods were this bad, or, like I'm not, it's what my endo is not as bad as somebody else's. Like, that is really interesting, because I didn't realise I thought like that. Like, this is actually me being honest, I don't speak about my endometriosis barely at all on social media, because I don't feel I've got a right to, in some respect, because one, I've got the support that a lot of people don't have with my medical support, and 2, I don't feel like it's as bad as what a lot of people have got. So I'm like, what right do I have to be like posting a post to be like this and this, and then like, yeah, it's a tough one, because I've met so many incredible people that have a really, really difficult time with it, and I'm like, I'm sat here with, like I said, really well looked after, managing it okay, whatever. So I'm like, oh, flipping heck, I don't have the right to be sharing this story when I'm actually in a more privileged position than you are. Does that make sense? So it does make you think that, like, that's what I mean. So I actually don't post that much about it, and I probably should, but I don't. Do you know what I mean?
Because everyone's got a different perspective on whatever they're going through, and like you said, like, just because what you've been through isn't what someone else is experiencing, it doesn't matter, because when it comes to comparison, obviously everyone says comparison is the thief of joy, but I actually really like comparison if it's used within yourself. So like, I don't compare myself to anyone else, but I'll compare myself to who I was last year, but it's just how you look at it, because like injury, I could look at myself one day post-op and be like, oh, last week I could squat X amount and I was so much better. But if in 6 weeks' time I look back to that day one post-op, I can be like, I'm in such a better place. It's just about what you compare to, and having the awareness to be like, I'm not going to compare myself to, like how I was 10 years ago.
But it happened on Friday. Sorry to jump in, but
go on. I know, and
it happened on Friday.
Yeah, and I'm not saying here, like, I'm not sitting here being like, oh yeah, I am perfect and I do it all the time. But because I do catch myself in moments of like, I'm really sad about
clip
that.
of you being like,
yeah,
where
like,
am I squat?
So yeah, in the gym, like I was squatting like 20 kilos less than what I usually do. When I say usually, I mean before this injury. And it catches you in a moment of like I am really sad. But for me, at least I know that I'm only comparing to myself. I wouldn't be like, oh, this person's squatting way more than me, because I know that that's not me. That's unachievable. But I like to now only compare within myself. But that doesn't mean that I don't negatively compare with myself, if that makes sense.
I think from like going back to endo point is that like, I think there's so many, like social media is such a massive tool for like an awareness and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm educated enough to be sharing certain things. Like my knee injury, this is oh my God, I post about what I do in the day. Like I've did it quite often throughout the year, because like I spend so much time learning and doing it and rehabbing and being in the gym and whatever. But with endo, because it's such a new thing and I'm still feel like I'm learning so much, I'm like, if I put a post out about how I cope and it could be wrong, that someone could take that and it could be like, I could be saying the wrong thing or whatever. It's such a space of like, gosh, there's so much stuff out there and so many people raising awareness and sharing how their own experience of different things. It's like, ooh, I feel like I need to make sure that if I am posting certain things about a chronic condition, I need to be making sure that it's okay enough, if that makes sense.
So, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and that makes sense. I do feel the same. And I think for a long time I was kind of like, oh, tumour's benign and technically I'm quite cool. So why am I doing anything with it? Why do I have the right? Whereas someone like Laura definitely had the right. But then that was the mindset shift as well, was it's not about having the right to do so. It's about almost having the duty, whether that's to yourself or those around you.
Yeah.
And then, that comparison is really, really tough. And I'm trying not to do it. I love what you've said about the whole self of that goes into looking at what you can do. So I've been doing this NHS funded art thing for the last year, and it's part of what I call this rehabilitation phase, where it's actually taking longer than I thought it would. It's taking longer than the dangerous illness time in itself to kind of like get back to life and learn to live. So I started that art as part of that, and I'd go there on a Wednesday afternoon, and my art teacher would kind of like, I'm so bad. I'm one of these people that can't go, I'm really not okay today, or I'm really sad today. I cannot talk about my emotions, which is really, really weird considering this whole mindset shift.
Yeah.
But I'm struggling really hard with that. But my art teacher just knew and created this space of things that I can do instead of what I can't do. And that was why I started my social media page separate from Love Your Period in itself. Because for so long it was kind of like, I can't do this. I can't get into university. My brain doesn't work very well at the moment for some reason. I can't get my periods back. I'm worried about my fertility, all these things, and shift it onto, right, this is what I can do. I actually can't do art. I'm really bad at it, but I can go and make a really bad piece of art.
Yeah, and you can actually still do it. It doesn't have to be Van Gogh, or whatever his name is.
Exactly. And we look at those, and I know we've said about achievements, but those tiny things. So there's an art exhibition up now that I've got a little paper mache bird that I made in the art exhibition. And I would not have done that technically yet.
You can put that on your CV.
No technicality, you are. You are an artist.
Well, when I went in, they did cut the ribbon and I had a little sticker that said artist on it. I was like,
what brings you to this exhibit? I'm an artist.
Me, yeah. And I never would have done that. I wouldn't have dreamt of doing that before. So, like you've just said, if you put your mindset onto yourself and kind of like, if this hadn't happened, I wouldn't have done that, or I wouldn't have done this. And I'm really, really lucky and privileged because I do so many really cool roles that people my age don't get to do. And Every Woman Festival Ambassador being one of them. With the Brain Tumour Charity, I've now met 20 other people my age with brain tumours I didn't even know existed. And now I barely know them, but they are the closest people in my life because they get it.
Yes.
And they get me.
It's the validation of like someone understands what this feels like.
Without even telling my story. Like I haven't gone on there and told everyone about my brain tumour. I'm not kind of that type of person, but I feel like I belong there. So all these privileged positions, I get to travel places and do many amazing things on my terms. So if I can only do half a day in 1 week, it works, and I'm really lucky my parents support me in that. So it's looking at what you can do as opposed to what you can't.
It goes back to control, though, because you could have still allowed yourself to be in that mindset you were in before, where you were like, hate the world, hate my life. You mentioned earlier, like, might as well have killed me there and then, like, don't want to live. But it's the control of being like, I'm going to make the most of every opportunity that I get. And like you said, it's on your terms. If you've got an opportunity to go somewhere for the day, but you can only go there for half of the day due to how you're feeling, no bloody problem, because you're still going and it's on your terms. And I think that is such a powerful feeling to be like, I'm doing this for me, I'm in control of this, cool. 1 o'clock's come, I'm going home to my pajamas, but I've got enough out of the day. And it's like Gwen mentions quite a lot that her control and satisfaction out of her day is like your morning coffee. Like, you make your morning coffee, or whatever else comes out of the day, you've done something for you. And, you know, whatever happens, that's a tick for you.
One point that I actually learned the other day is I need to eat before I drink coffee. Right? I've been having some issues with my bowels. As you know. And I came up on TikTok the other day because I've been shoot myself in the foot here with my morning coffee because I've been setting myself up to fail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I still have my morning
Not as
coffee.
satisfying as you think.
Well, I still have my morning coffee, but I've got to eat before. It came up on TikTok, 5 hacks for your bowels.
Oh.
Gut health, I think it was.
Yes.
And one of them was avoid drinking caffeine on an empty stomach. And I'd never thought of it that way because I love coffee before I eat. I love it. But it's not. It just doesn't agree with me.
So you just need to have a little snatchy
So
snack.
if anyone out there is struggling with some bowel movements first thing in the morning and you drink coffee on an empty stomach,
or they've been inspired by your morning coffee.
or you're all off now and you're having your morning coffee's brilliant, but eat something first. Sorry, I needed to get that in.
That's key because
Genuinely.
I know we talk about downsides social media, but I think it's amazing for education things. And when it's a hack like that and you're not like taking a supplement someone's randomly given you, it's really, really good. And we don't talk about these things. I know we're now, periods is a big thing, but like I said, you know, I had I don't know what the first one's called, pelvic floor issues,
Yes,
incontinence,
welcome to the club. Yeah,
bowel
we are all on that.
incontinence. I was literally like wetting myself on pavements. Tilly, my sister, found it so funny. I remember once wetting myself on a pavement and I was sat on the floor and I was on a hill.
Trickling.
It was going down and a family come past on their bikes and Tilly is drawing more attention because she is on the ground, literally lying, rolling around.
Laughing at you.
And it was, you know, like, we found it so funny. My mum was horrified. I don't think I've ever been shouted at so much. Obviously, like, that was a random reaction because you can't shout at someone for wetting themselves. But like,
how dare you wet yourself?
Do like so much with pelvic floor, and I know there's a massive TikTok page, Know Your Floors, and Suzanne became an ambassador for the Every Woman Festival. And when I found out I was an ambassador with her, it was literally fangirl moment because my like fangirl moments are the gynecologists and Julie Cornish, the woman that started the Every Woman Festival, is a colorectal consultant surgeon.
The old couple's daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
Yes.
No way.
Yeah, that old couple that we interviewed, we didn't know that at the time, but afterwards, the lady said that was the daughter-in-law.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know, isn't it? I
Oh,
know.
lovely. So Julie's like, and she'll come in and she'll say things or say something random, and I'm just like, she's definitely just improved my quality of life just by making a joke about bowels in an Every Woman Festival meeting. So it's crazy how these tiny bits of information that there's no way of teaching us, and we don't get taught about these things. A bit like when we were talking earlier about like menstrual cups and things, like we know they're there, but we don't actually get taught about them. Yeah. But that could actually improve someone's quality of life, because when we think quality of life, we think end of life.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm trying to shift that because I didn't, you know, when people were saying that to me, I was like, what, am I actually going to die? I thought I wasn't going to die. Like, what's going on? Mixed signals.
Quality of life is like,
improving.
That starts now. It starts yesterday. Like, it's about, it doesn't matter how long you're going to live. It matters how good the quality of living is for however long that may be. And why wait till you have a day or date that you think is going to be the end to start enjoying that?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Love Your Period. Where are you at with it? Like, I know we discussed earlier that you've got maybe something surprise for us.
Presents.
Yes. Talk to us about the aim of Love Your Period, what you're doing, the people that you've got involved. Hit us with that, because it's literally class.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's so good.
So, Love Your Period is a multi-award-winning international social action project. We got UNICEF Child Friendly Cardiff social action project of the last 5 years. So Cardiff have been working to be a child-friendly city. They were the first one in the UK.
Cool.
We celebrated last October, and Love Your Period won social action project.
Sick, well done.
Yes, I got to go and say, got a little trophy. I wasn't expecting this. My MP was even there to give it to me. I was like, oh, hello, what are you doing here? I was really underprepared. And so we are 75 people.
Wow, that is so cool.
Youngest is 12 and oldest is 87.
Wow.
So we all do different things, and the whole idea is to create the big sister that many of us wish we had growing up. So obviously it's called Love Your Period. We are all arguing about a name change, positive arguing. We don't actually have a fallout, believe it or not. It's a bit
What's
weird.
the reason for that?
Because we cover more than periods now.
Fair enough. It's
really
expanding. Right.
So we're trying to look at this big sister route and seeing what we can do. But even though we are international, we have a massive base of Wales, because I find that I go to these rooms and UK roundtables. I'm the only person from Wales in the room, and I'm the only person that understands that health and education is a devolved matter. I feel like if you're going to do activism, you really need to teach yourself. So I had to learn to make sure I actually knew what I was on about.
Yes, this is what I mean. I feel like I was saying about my endo, like I feel like I need to learn more before I'm putting out information, because I'm like, that's true, because people ask you questions and you're like, I don't know the answers.
Yeah, exactly. So it was about having that in the room. So Love Your Period now is the whole idea is to have that big sister and facilitate the conversations to improve someone's quality of life. So whether that be someone with a chronic illness whose hormones and periods are affected, someone who is having major symptoms, and then we always think of period issues, and we think of things like endometriosis, gynecological, but mine was in my brain. Like, it's a whole body thing. And I didn't know that your menstrual cycle was all months, you know? It's kind of like, I thought period and menstrual cycle were the same. And I experienced so many other things growing up, like, I'm trying to think. So I had, for a very long time, and I swear by the moisturizer, I take it with me everywhere just in case, vaginal dryness. And I was like, oh, old ladies get that. Like, it's not a me thing. And the pain, it literally ruined my life, but I didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Or painful sex, didn't want to talk about it. Would not talk about it.
Yeah.
There are so many different things that happened specifically over, like, even more recently, over the last few years, that I was kind of like, I wish I had someone to ask a question. I wish I had a big sister. And
or even knowing that those things potentially weren't normal, like painful sex, you probably don't even think that, like, you probably just think that is meant probably normal, it just happens, like, but actually no, it's not meant to be painful.
Yeah, a friend said to me a few days ago, she texted me, and I said to her, I'm going to have to use this anonymously for Love Your Period just because I have to tell the story. And she was like, yes. She was like, I thought painful sex was normal. She said, my partners would say to me, oh, if you're still in pain 7 days later, then I did a good job. And I was like,
No.
I was like, girl, no. And we have
Red
to get
flag.
rid of it. Yeah, I know. Don't worry, I gave that rant. We have to get rid of these ideas and put this in place. So that's the whole idea of Love Your Period. But we have quite a presence within the governments and within policies and with the ministers, both. Well, we're going to have to rebuild them now in Westminster with everything changing. But in Wales, because we've had a Labour Party in lead for much longer in Wales, haven't we? So those connections have been there, and we've had incredible support from every single member, cross-party. There is not kind of like any party politics when it comes to Love Your Period, and they know that too. If they try it, they're like, wrong people. These young people are going to tell you what to do. So that's kind of the whole idea of it. And now we're having more a look at the stigma and sexualization even of periods. So periods, we say sex ed, periods comes into that, and that could bring a whole lot of problems. We think they're wrong. We think they're dirty. We think they're unhygienic, which has been linked now to the use of the word sanitary pads. And then can we use period products instead, or feminine hygiene? And then you've got the whole feminine thing when we think of gendered language. We are pulling everything apart. So a big passion, which is when my presents come in for you guys.
Oh, I'm excited.
I have
I'm
period
excited.
products. I have period products for
Oh my
you.
God, yes.
So I've literally bought you a bit of everything. So
Oh,
here's
yes.
a little menstrual.
I've actually I don't have one of these.
Never had one. Always
They're-
Oh,
wanted
they
one.
got little quotes on them. Right, hang on a minute before we start. Got little...
Go on, read it out.
Okay, sorry. Every flyer who ventures across oceans to distant lands is a potential explorer. Zoom in.
Okay. And the thing is, no one opens these up and lets you look at them.
Right, we can zoom in on that as well.
Yeah,
zoom in
so
on that.
true. There's probably actually so many people who have never seen
This
the
is the
inside of it.
issue. And, you know, we're really lucky that Love Your Period
Whoa.
gets given so much. And look, you can now even have a reusable one that clicks on your pants.
That's a pad.
Yeah.
No.
A reusable
And you
pad.
just wash it. You just put it in the wash
my
with
gosh,
the rest
that-
of your clothes.
that makes-
I got you these as well. I got you a bit of everything.
my
Because
good
obviously
goodness.
we actually with Wales have started working with Wooker period
I bought
pants.
you Wooker pants.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Because I actually swear by them because I have quite heavy periods and I literally use Wooker all the time on my periods.
Are these, sorry to interrupt, are these two?
Yes.
Yes, two, they're different sizes.
So that's a key thing there. Do you see how hard that was to get out? So they
Yeah.
suction to your vaginal, your muscles, like suction them to your wall. So everyone's scared of menstrual cups because they think they'll pull their uterus out. But the problem is because it suctions, you have to undo the suction. And we know that for normal things, but we don't know that for the menstrual cups.
So how does it actually work? Are these instructions?
I can imagine this being really good for
I got a
like
menstrual
playing
cup here
sport
too.
because, like you said about the so for me, like tampons, I get scared to wear them for some reason because I think they're going to fall out. But
Whoa!
So this is our little testament.
Okay,
It hasn't been used.
Right. Hey guys, you're going to have a little intro into menstrual cups. Go for it.
So these are great because you can use these for up to 12 hours and you can clean them between, you could just rinse them out during your period, but you can clean them between your cycles literally just by, I've got one that came with a little silicone pot that you, maybe, I don't know if it was silicone. I'm not going to say material because if you can't put it in the microwave, then I don't want to kill anyone. But you put it in the microwave with water for 30 seconds and it cleans it. Or you can boil it like on a hob on the top and it completely sterilises it.
So, sorry if this is a really stupid question, but like,
Not at all.
you're in the toilet, go to a public toilet, do you just tip it out?
Yep.
And then put it back in?
Put it back in. That is slightly difficult because, of course, if the sink is on the outside, people have struggled with that.
yeah. Like a private toilet, I guess. A cubicle.
Lots of people keep these in for 12 hours. So you go out
and you don't even, and
you can go for a wee with it in. People think you can't with tampons and menstrual cups go for a wee. You can.
Yeah.
And they're great. There's so many different ways you can put it in. I'm trying to think which way I did
So
it.
it got these instructions now. So it says pinch, fold,
Like
and then what?
this.
It goes in like this?
Yeah, and then it does that.
So you can do
when
a
it
little,
goes in.
little C, or you can, I do the punch down. That's what they call it. I do that
Punch
one.
down,
Yeah.
punch
Like
down,
that.
fold.
And then as it would go in, it would do that and then catch it all.
And
Cool.
you could only feel this little bit coming out.
And then that's what
Got
you
you,
said,
which is like
that's what
this
you pull
tampon
out, is
string,
it?
right?
Or you just pull it like that?
No, because
no.
suction.
Oh,
So you're going to
right.
have to
So you have to go in and push again.
just get that bit. And it is simpler. It looks scary. And
So when it's inside you, you've got to go like this to pull it out.
to make sure that you don't suction.
Got you. So you would
Your
just like push.
insides.
You would just push the wall of it like that,
Right.
and then that would come
Yeah,
out.
just to
That's good to
undo
know.
it.
Good
So,
to know.
Of course,
Good
there's loads
to
of
know.
people, and this is the problem. Like, I'll never push a product, but I've always used them beforehand. And there was a woman that donated loads of these, and I was texting her, going, "Can you please help me? I'm trying to get this cup in." And bless her, she's helping me as I'm in the toilet with my legs up, trying to put this cup in. And I'll forever be grateful for her for that. And because I'd like to try everything before I give it away, give it a go. But these, there's a massive taboo around inserted products and loads of misconceptions, virginity being one of them, which is a whole other construct. I could do a whole other episode on that. But, these whole social constructs of these things being dirty and not allowed, and the potential impact of that. But no one showed me a tampon until the first time I used one. I was 11, and it was the most horrifying experience of my life, and then I was terrified. I won't use them now, but I'll always get them out and show them, because the problem is, if we don't look at them, or we don't see what they are, and we don't know how they work and things like that.
Show the camera. Show the tampon to the camera.
Tampons, menstrual cups, they're not dirty. They won't take your virginity.
You just pull.
Whatever that means.
But it's so true, right? Because I remember when I got my period, like maybe my second period, I was like, okay, a tampon. Like, I'm meant to just know how to use that. And I went to the toilet in school, and I literally, for about 20 minutes across lunch, tried to put this thing in, and it wouldn't go in. And I was like, I don't know if I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And then I did not use one again until I was 21, and I had my period at 14.
What did you use? Pads?
Pads, yeah, because that's all I knew. But also then at this point, I started getting really heavy periods, and I felt like if I had a tampon in, that wasn't going to cut the mustard. And so I was just, I got to a point where I couldn't leave the house for a certain amount of time on my period, because if I was sat down and then stood up, I would just get like these like clots and stuff. But I just didn't know how to. I don't know how to use it.
Do you want to pull the thing out, as in like the tampon, to show that like you have to pull?
Show the insertion.
Where's it gone?
Where have I put here it is. It's because I got a bag full of goodies. And if you think about how much all this stuff would come to as well, when we think about pricing.
Period products are expensive.
Yeah, very.
I don't even know how to use it.
Okay.
Properly. No, wait, I'm going to. Woo! We did it.
That's the tampon, everyone. That's
I remember
what goes
once someone in my
inside.
school coloured these in red and tied a few to the school Christmas tree. They blamed me. And I was like,
That's
I
a Molly
understand
thing.
why
It
you
must be
did,
Molly.
but it wasn't even me. And
That's cool. Just like normalise it.
I like this little menstrual cup. It's got this pamphlet is excellent. It says that you don't need to remove your cup when you're having a wee. Easiest to remove your cup when you're sitting down. It's just all sorts of really cool instructions in it.
I can't wait to
It's
give it a
great
go.
that we've got these, and there's so many. But I remember when I was in school, and I don't know, obviously this is really difficult because I don't want my school. I think they think that I blame them for a lot of things, but I say my school because it's where I went. But I know every other school was the same because it was new for them. But the instructions were taken out of the tampon boxes.
Yeah.
So you weren't given the instructions because they were worried if the boys got hold of the paper with the diagrams. But then, of course, the safety of using tampons and the instructions.
So silly.
Not just using them, but then how long to keep them in, toxic shock syndrome, all these things that we need to know.
Should we see anything else? The washable pad. What? That is cute. What's that little bag?
You've got 5 in there. There's one
No
here.
way.
Get the other one
Hey,
now.
that'd be a good to keep your menstrual products in.
Yes.
I love a little bag.
I love a little bag as well.
Currently, I've got one that I maybe took from my mum.
Oh,
Says
thank you very
There's
much.
5 in them. Now,
Cool.
So much.
Hey girls, we're good for change.
so Hey Girls UK, who are kind of
Cool.
that work with the Welsh Government, they have a buy one, give one kind of thing as well. So every time someone buys a Hey Girls product, they donate one, and it goes to organisations like Love Your Period, meaning that we can get these to kind of like
Sorry,
young sports teams.
I love that there's poppers. The worst thing about actual pads is when they stick to the you
bloody
can't
wings.
actually get them off.
And I tell
That is cool.
for sensory
instructions in
reasons too. They are. I use those specifically for incontinence because I thought, well, I may as well keep using my
okay.
products.
Yeah.
And if I'm going out, and being able to first of all pop them was a lot easier than anything else.
Yeah.
But also like. Just the whole thing, the feeding them, the being able to just chuck it off and chuck it in the wash and not have to look at it and think about it.
Well, there's even
It's really
instruction on the
good.
back, and it says reusable panty liners with wet bag for easy storage at home or on the go with simple use.
Very
And
good.
it even gives you find your flow chart of what you should use, how heavy you
I
are.
have an iPad.
Yeah, I know. Very cool. Oh yeah, you buy one, we donate.
Very
Hey
cool.
Girls is an award-winning social enterprise, and all our profit goes towards ending period poverty.
Brilliant.
They
Love
are
that.
my favourite. So I have got pants. I've
Oh,
got
thank
different
this
ones.
is like Christmas.
One of them are like
Thank you
one
so
of them
much.
are Wooker.
Oh no way!
And
And
so
then
I bought 2 different ones in different
Cool.
sizes so that you can
let me get them out. Let me get them out.
This is brilliant.
show the pants. Because this is the thing. Who sits
No
and
one's-
puts
yeah.
these up?
Period pants.
You've got the 2 different ones there.
I know. But I think that's what's really good about these is that there's
Yeah.
like fits that suit everyone. It's like everyone would think if someone said like period pants, people would think like, oh, it's going to look the X sort of way. It can't be sexy. It can't be this. Can't be that.
Well-
But you can have different styles depending on what
Yeah.
you prefer to wear.
Like I've got a range of different Wooker ones.
I've
like
got
a thong,
seamless, I've got a thong.
seamless, yeah, big panty ones when you want to be a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, and they do like the swimwear and the bikinis now
Yes,
as well.
I need to
Wow,
try that.
I didn't know
Really
that.
cool.
Yeah, Wooker
yeah.
brought those out. One of our Love Your Period girls, the deputy of the campaign, went and did all the photography and modelled all the swimwear.
That
That's
is
so
awesome.
cool. It actually
Really
came
cool.
up on my TikTok, I want to say, the other day. God, my algorithm is just hitting the spot, isn't it? But yeah, it was really cool where they were trying on like bikini bottoms. And again, like coming back to, I didn't go swimming or go in the sea when I was on my period until I was 21 because I couldn't put a tampon in and I was too scared to put a tampon in. So having period bikini or period bathe, I'm
Yeah.
like happy days.
Do you have that open pad? Because we'll get that, whack that out as well.
Yeah, there you go. Have a pad.
Is it
Hey
open?
girls, you can open these. I'm going to open this one. So these ones,
Yeah.
the reason we can use them and get them out is, of course, we can't donate single products. So
Get
we
this
have
open.
lots of organisations even that send us stuff that go, these are going to be put in the bin.
No
Because
way.
you can't donate things unless there's like seal pads and stuff like that. So Hey Girls UK, first off, send us massive boxes of these. So I've got thousands of singular pads.
Yeah.
Pad, everyone.
Can't be donated, so
Pad.
we can use them for education. Or like if I'm bringing them to someone who wants them, I'm like, you all right having loose
Yeah.
ones? They're like, yes,
Yeah.
have a whole bag, have
Yeah.
500.
Nice.
So that's excellent because then if they're going to be chucked away anyway, because of course opening up, people that would be like, oh, period poverty, wasteful, they're going to be put in the bin. So then we can repurpose them for education
Yes.
and get
Very
in and
good.
Get them into schools, get them into workplaces, get them in
Exactly.
places where they're not going to be wasted. In our building in Wales, in our rugby building, in the toilets there's like a little box that has like all menstrual stuff, like pads, tampons, wipes, all kind of stuff, and then like I've done a few times where I've just gone to the storage and I'll refill it and I'll put it back because I'm like, that is so useful. How many times you go to toilet and you're like, oh my God, I haven't got anything, and then boom, they're there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what your preference is with pants, but as much as they're hard to get off, I much prefer the wings.
I prefer the wings.
These
too.
have got
It holds
wings
them in
where
place.
I'm gonna whack this out. This is then you put these around the pants, and then it sticks down together.
If you're
Happy
lucky.
days. If you're lucky, yes.
There's nothing worse getting it stuck to the inside of your thigh or your hair, and you're like,
oh, I find when like the sticky stuff just sticks onto your pants, and when you rip it off, it's just the sticky stuff is still there. I like on the back of these it says it shows the flow again. Says how heavy you are and what this would be.
Yeah, and you know
hold.
we're very, very strict kind of having, I know we spoke about this before, so these are plastic free. Sanitary products, of course, they're labelled as. So when I say that, it's because that's what the official documents say. I know that that's an issue, but these period products are the 5th most common plastic washed up on UK beaches. They take 500 years to decompose because of the amount of plastic
That's a lot of
in them.
years.
Well, it's a lot of
Yeah,
years.
and in a pack of pads, there's the equivalent of 4 plastic bags.
What?
So we don't talk about this plastic, but not only are we talking environmental impact, but the amount of people. So I remember, like I've mentioned, my skin being a problem. I was using normal, generic, cheap pads, and I had so many issues with my skin, even before this, that I had to... what was I wearing? I was wearing these special pants and then leggings because my skin, all the way down between my thighs as well, my intimate skin was just a nightmare, and my doctors couldn't work it out. I moved to these eventually when I found out about them, and within 6 months it cleared up.
Wow.
And the doctors were like, well, it's the only thing I can think of. And I was bleeding so much and so heavily because of the hormone thing that I was constantly using these products.
Yeah.
And of course, not only did I have this plastic affecting my skin, but the perfumes, the chemicals, all of it was really, really bad.
So surely then also these reusable like material-based pads may be really helpful if someone was experiencing that, because it's basically just wearing pants. Obviously, the normal pants as well, but like it's obviously be softer and better for your skin.
Exactly, and we're talking about multiple use. So when we do think of things like period poverty, period dignity, we now call it in Wales, it's giving someone a product that they can't spend £30 outright on because they are expensive. However, once it's given to them, if you wash your clothes anyway, you wash it like your clothes. And we're talking like 5 years for the pads, up to 10 years for the menstrual cup.
Wow, that's good to know.
them.
It's like when you've invested in something, you've got it, it's there, you've got it for that amount of time, rather than obviously you go through a back box of tampons, like how quick do you go through them? And like if you buy the proper branded ones, it costs you fair few quid.
A lot of money. So even if people can't pay that outright price, if we've got these in, so we've got them in the hubs, in the community centres, in schools.
Nice.
We've been giving them to loads of like young sports clubs because of all the statistics about girls once they hit 13 dropping from sport. So making sure that we reach that.
Yes, I think sport is a huge thing. Like I think sport is a really, really big thing, especially as well because a lot of sport are male dominated with like staffing and coaching and stuff. And I think that like you forget that is a really essential, like we talk about our rugby squad as a whole. There's like 30 odd of us in a squad. Guaranteed there's about a handful of us guaranteed going to be on a period at some stage in a week. There's going to be on one time, so they're products that are absolutely essential to have in the facility. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think you get your boots and your gum shield, but also as a female you need to remember your tampons and your pads. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
So that was interesting. You said that there's products available in hubs. Is it? So if people were struggling are they free in the hubs?
Yes.
Cool.
So all the community spaces, we're trying to get a legislation passed with the Welsh Government to get them everywhere so that it stays. Yeah. But they're in the schools, they're in the hubs. We're working with councils pretty much individually to say to them, right, where can we get them? But, you know, the openness, I think in Wales more than England, you know, I love to celebrate the positives. You know, like you were saying from the very beginning of the episode about that couple that said everything's really good now. We have to celebrate the positives.
Definitely.
And whilst we do have some resistance on the ground, the councils and the government are very open. And I truly believe it's because young people are spearheading that change. Because we can have big UK-wide organisations come forward and say, got to teach everyone about tampons. We've got 4 pupil testimonies that say so. Or then you have my lot that storm into the Senedd, hold a big event with all the ministers there, and they can literally see all these young people going, Molly, you do this, you go over there because you're not, we're running this ship. And they can see that this is what young people actually do, actually want, and it's succeeding. They're getting all these tampons out for their peers. That embarrassment of having that adult child talking down, we're bridging that gap. So young people need to spearhead that to ensure that not only do we get the legislation, but those places remain and expand. But pretty much like any way you can get a period product now, it's just making sure people know and they know to ask. That's the next part.
That is the important thing, like you just said. People know that that it's accessible and they can get it, because I think people are probably still a bit too afraid or too embarrassed to maybe ask, or if I think that is a really important thing to say there.
Yeah, 100%. I'm buzzing with all my gifts.
I honestly buzzing.
I am actually buzzing. So at the end of each podcast, I don't even know.
Don't say it when you say that we stole
No,
it.
I'm not going to say that.
At the end of every episode, we have a clause and tradition where the previous guest leaves the next guest a question, but they don't know who they're leaving it for. So,
got to find the pic. Oh, gosh, my mic's getting in the way. Okay, so we've got 2 questions. First one, what are you grateful for? Second one, what do you want to get out of today?
This is so on topic. This is on brand, isn't it? I am. What am I grateful for? Today, I am grateful for my existence, simply being here. And I know that's quite broad because of the people around me, but being able to do the things of traveling here, being here, traveling home, seeing my family, that in itself, just being able to exist. What was the second one? Sorry.
What do you want out of today?
What do I want out of today? To be happy, to go to bed happy and feel like I had a happy day no matter how much or how little I did.
Nice, that's really good.
Awareness for the period pads and the tampons.
That was a pad. I said tampon. You know what I mean?
I did the same thing. I was like tampons, but I'm holding the pad. Honestly, this has been such an epic conversation. Like halfway through the episode, I wanted to say this already, and I was thinking, like, when we're doing these episodes, it's all these incredible people that we meet. Literally, don't want the episodes to end. I feel like I could sit here all day and speak to you, and then it's just perspective. Like, I'm listening to your story and what you've been through, and I just feel so inspired. Like, literally, this is honest truth. When you were talking earlier, my brain was going, I was trying to think of things. I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to start journaling. Like, in my head, I'm going to go to talks. I'm going to educate myself more. Like, I don't think you realise that, like you say, you share your story, but you don't realise the impact it has on somebody else. And, like, I'm listening to you speak, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so inspired about just not just what you've been through, because like you said, you're more than you're not, your brain doesn't define you, but it's your mindset shift now, and like you're trying to help people, your outlook on life, the cool stuff you're doing to like get rid of the stigma around these bloody pads and tampons. It's cool. It's really goddamn cool, and I've taken so much out of this conversation. Like I said, I feel so inspired. I feel like I could just take on the day and then go to the gym after this and lift 9 million kilos.
You can.
But you can.
Then you would be putting a time on your existence.
I don't know. I just absolutely loved it. Appreciate your honesty, your vulnerability, of sharing your story with us. But I just want to let you know that I just listened to you and I was like, wow, I feel so inspired about not just what you've been through, but what your mindset is now and how you just attack in life.
Yeah, I think inspired is a very good word. And like, I like to use the term, when you meet people, they can either be a radiator or a drain, and you're an absolute radiator. And I think that you give out this energy that's just like, yeah, let's do this, kind of thing. And I think those are the kind of people that we should all strive to surround ourselves with. So thank you very much for doing that.
Not at all, thank you. And that's the goal. That's why I do it, because like I said, you can think about yourself, but actually anything could happen to any of us at any time. So why wouldn't we want to do anything but to make our day the best as we can for ourselves? And if I can teach someone else that, then that's the goal. That's what we want.
Well, we will be supporting you no matter what. We will be whoop whoopers behind the scene and supporting you wherever all these journeys that you're going on. So yeah, just good luck with everything, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. And remember,
Keep saying it how it is.
That's a wrap.
Nice.
For the clap.
Oh, that was good. Oh, my ears.
I know, it's weird taking it off, isn't it? Everything feels